Welcome back to ABCGH Spoilers channel. Today, we're diving into a series of explosive developments that are shaking up Port Charles. Secrets are unraveling, alliances are shifting, and tensions are reaching a breaking point. Every decision made now could change lives forever. Who will rise from the chaos, and who will fall deeper into their own destruction? Let's break it all down, analyze the hidden layers, and explore every angle of the drama. Jocelyn Jax Crossroads, a decision that could change everything. Jocelyn Jax has always been bold, but now she's facing a decision that will define her future, perhaps permanently. After her intense standoff with the notorious Cyrus Renault, she finds herself backed into a corner. But she's not alone. Enter Jack Brennan, a man who knows how to maneuver in the shadows, offering her a choice she never thought she'd have to make. The weight of this decision is crushing. On one hand, she can take Brennan's help and handle the situation quietly, ensuring that the evidence against her vanishes. On the other, she can stand firm, face the legal consequences, and fight for justice even if it means risking everything. But let's talk about what's at stake here. Legally, Jocelyn's position is not as strong as she might hope. She didn't just stumble onto Cyrus' property, she went there twice, fully aware of the dangers. While many would argue that Cyrus is the real villain here, the law doesn't always work in black and white. A prosecutor could easily paint her as a reckless vigilante, someone who broke into a dangerous man's home not once, but twice, seeking revenge. And then there's the stolen firearm. That alone complicates things beyond belief. Even if she was acting in self-defense, the fact that she was using a weapon obtained illegally could destroy her credibility. There are so many ways this could go wrong for Jocelyn, and if she miscalculates even slightly, she could end up facing serious consequences. But it's not just the legal ramifications she has to worry about. This moment could push Jocelyn down a path she can never return from. If she chooses to accept Brennan's help, she might start seeing the world differently through the lens of power, control, and manipulation. Is this the moment where Jocelyn Jax transforms from an impulsive young woman into someone much more dangerous? Someone willing to do whatever it takes to protect herself, no matter the cost? This decision isn't just about what happens next. It's about who Jocelyn Jax will become in the process. Drew Quartermaine vs. Jason Morgan, a battle of resentment and unfinished business. Meanwhile, across town, another battle is raging, one that has been building for years. Drew Quartermaine and Jason Morgan are two men with a complicated history, and their latest confrontation proves that some wounds never truly heal. Jason, in an uncharacteristic move, extends an olive branch. He's willing to call a truce, put the past behind them, and move forward for the sake of those they both care about. But Drew? He isn't interested. In his eyes, this is nothing more than another manipulation, another way for Jason to control the narrative and come out looking like the bigger man. Drew has already alienated nearly everyone around him. He's isolated, with Willow Tate being one of the few people who still sees him as a victim rather than a pariah. But is his anger justified? Or is he letting bitterness destroy his chances at redemption? At the core of this conflict is something deeper than just past betrayals. It's about identity. Drew has spent so much of his life feeling like a shadow of someone else, like he was always playing second to Jason, never quite measuring up. And now, even with all the time that has passed, he still feels like he's fighting for his place in the world. But here's the irony: by refusing to bury the hatchet, Drew is ensuring that Jason still has power over him. His refusal to move on isn't hurting Jason. It's only keeping Drew trapped in a cycle of resentment and self-destruction. So the real question is, how long can he keep this up before it destroys him completely? Brooklyn Quartermaine's secret, the bombshell that changes everything. For Brooklyn Quartermaine, the truth has been a prison. For too long, she has carried a secret that could change the lives of everyone around her. And now, that secret is out. Harrison Chase, The man who has stood by her side through thick and thin learns the truth. But instead of reacting with anger, disappointment, or betrayal, he surprises everyone. His reaction is one of compassion. Instead of focusing on the deception, he sees the burden Brooklyn has carried. And what a burden it has been. A teenage pregnancy, hidden away from the world, covered up by lies and shame. It's not just about protecting herself, it's about protecting others. She believed she was doing the right thing, but at what cost? For a moment, it looks like this revelation will bring Chase and Brooklyn closer together. Perhaps this is the moment they take the next step, move toward adoption, and create the family they both secretly dreamed of. But fate isn't that kind. Because the truth is even more complicated than anyone realized. The father of the child isn't just anyone, it's Dante Falconeri. And to make matters worse, the child has been living in the Quartermain mansion all along, right under their noses. This changes everything. Relationships will be tested, alliances will crumble, and the fallout will be catastrophic. Anna Devane's revelation, a game-changer for Dante Falconeri. And finally, we arrive at the most shocking revelation of them all. Anna Devane, a woman who has always been at the center of power plays and dangerous secrets, drops a bombshell that leaves Dante Falconeri shaken to his core. Cyrus Renault isn't just a criminal. He's a monster. His crimes go deeper than anyone suspected. He has killed without remorse, and the blood of Sam McCall and many others stains his hands. But that's not the worst part. Because he didn't just kill. He tried to murder Lulu Spencer twice. For Dante, this is more than a crime. This is personal. And his reaction? It's exactly what you'd expect from a man fueled by both justice and vengeance. He can run, but there is no way that bastard can hide. There is no hesitation in his words. No uncertainty. Only the promise of relentless pursuit. Anna, ever the strategist, allows Dante to assist in the hunt for Cyrus. But is this the right call? Dante is emotionally invested in this case in a way that could cloud his judgment. A single misstep could mean disaster, not just for him, but for everyone involved. And so, we're left wondering, how far is Dante willing to go to make sure Cyrus Renault pays for his crimes? What's next? Port Charles is standing on the edge of a storm, and the choices made now will shape its future forever. Jocelyn Jax must decide if she's willing to cross a line she can never return from. Drew Quartermain's refusal to let go of the past may be his ultimate downfall. Brooklyn Quartermain's truth could break the foundations of everything she holds dear. And Dante Falconeri's hunt for justice may push him into dangerous, uncharted territory. What happens next? We'll be watching. Next, we have a dramatic breakdown of the shocking developments in Port Charles, where justice is served in the most unexpected way. As one villain meets his end, the echoes of his terrors still linger, leaving our beloved characters to grapple with the consequences. From shocking murders to twisted justifications and heartbreaking sacrifices, this episode of General Hospital delivered a whirlwind of emotions. Let's dive deep into what happened and analyze the intricate layers of this intense storyline. Jocelyn Jax ends Cyrus Renault's reign of terror. The power dynamics in Port Charles have shifted in a major way, and it all comes down to one life-altering moment. Jocelyn Jax pulled the trigger that ended Cyrus Renault's reign of terror. It was an act of self-preservation, but more than that, it was an act of justice. Cyrus, a man who had committed unthinkable crimes, finally met his end. However, the events leading up to this moment make it clear that it wasn't just about eliminating a threat, it was about stopping a monster who had already taken too many lives. Jocelyn had been gathering evidence against Cyrus after he brutally murdered Dex Heller. She knew she was walking into danger, but what she didn't expect was how close she would come to being his next victim. When Cyrus confronted her, ready to silence her for good, she acted on instinct. With Dex's gun in hand, she fired multiple shots into the man who had terrorized Port Charles for far too long. The aftermath of this moment is as complex as it is shocking. Jack Brennan, a man with his own secrets, was the first person Joss called. With ties to the darker underbelly of Port Charles, Brennan understands how to make problems disappear. And this? This is a problem he will definitely take care of. But what does this mean for Jocelyn? How will she cope with the fact that she took another person's life, even if it was in self-defense? There's no denying that Cyrus was a dangerous man, but that doesn't erase the trauma of pulling the trigger. Will Joss be able to live with this decision, or will the weight of it haunt her? And perhaps the most important question, what will Brennan demand in return for his help? Because in Port Charles, nothing comes without a price. Cyrus Renault's twisted justification for murder. Before meeting his end, Cyrus Renault made one final attempt to justify his horrific actions. In a deeply disturbing conversation with Elizabeth Baldwin, he explained the rationale behind his killing spree. According to Cyrus, he was never a murderer in the traditional sense. No, in his mind, he was an angel of mercy. He wasn't taking lives, he was freeing souls. It was an unsettling revelation. Cyrus believed that those who were suffering, trapped in a state of limbo, needed his intervention to be released into the afterlife. His twisted sense of righteousness drove him to eliminate those he deemed to be suffering, believing he was carrying out God's will. But perhaps the most horrifying part of his confession was his explanation for Sam McCall's death. He viewed her as an obstacle, someone who had disrupted his so-called divine mission. Lulu Spencer had been in a coma for 4 long years, her body dependent on machines to survive. In Cyrus's mind, she was meant to die peacefully and be reunited with God. But Sam changed that. By donating a part of her liver, Sam saved Lulu, unknowingly interfering with what Cyrus believed to be fate. And for that, she had to die. Cyrus saw Sam's death as nothing more than consequences, a punishment for meddling in what he believed to be a divine plan. But in reality, it was nothing more than a senseless, brutal murder of an innocent woman who had only ever wanted to help others. The tragic death of Sam McCall, a hero gone too soon. Sam McCall's death sent shockwaves through Port Charles, not just because of the loss itself, but because of the cruel irony behind it. She wasn't just another victim. She was a hero, a woman who had dedicated her life to protecting and saving others. When Lulu Spencer needed a transplant, Sam didn't hesitate. She made the ultimate sacrifice, giving a piece of herself to ensure that Lulu had a second chance at life. It was an act of pure selflessness, driven by nothing but the desire to save a friend. And yet, that act of kindness cost her everything. Her murder at the hands of Cyrus Renault was nothing short of devastating. Fans across the world expressed their outrage, unable to accept the senselessness of her death. She was only killed because she saved Lulu, and that devastates me, one fan wrote on social media. Sam was a hero and deserved so much better. Another viewer added, it's sickening that her selflessness was punished like this. She should have been celebrated for what she did, not murdered because of it. Indeed, Sam's death was not just a plot twist, it was a statement. It was a tragic reminder that in Port Charles, being a hero does not always guarantee a happy ending. Sometimes, it paints a target on your back. And in this case, Sam's kindness made her a victim of a man who had convinced himself that murder was mercy. Jeff Kober's exit, the end of Cyrus Renault. The end of Cyrus Renault was inevitable, but that doesn't mean his departure wasn't impactful. Jeff Kober, the brilliant actor behind the character, delivered a performance that made Cyrus one of General Hospital's most chilling villains. His ability to portray a man who believed in his own twisted sense of morality was nothing short of masterful. Even in his final moments, he wasn't begging for his life or trying to escape, he was resolute in his convictions. And that's what made him so terrifying. We always knew that Cyrus's days were numbered. After everything he had done, after the murder of Sam McCall, after the countless lives he had destroyed, there was no way he could continue on without facing justice. But his end came in an unexpected way. Instead of a drawn-out trial or a final act of redemption, he met his fate at the hands of a young woman who had simply had enough. Jocelyn Jax, in an act of desperation, ended his reign of terror in an instant. And just like that, Cyrus Renault was no more. But while he may be gone, the scars he left behind will remain. His actions have forever changed the lives of those he tormented. Sam McCall's family and friends will never get to see her again. Jocelyn will have to live with the knowledge that she took a life, no matter how justified it was. And the ripple effects of Cyrus's twisted beliefs will linger long after his final breath. What happens next? With Cyrus Renault gone, Port Charles can finally breathe again. But that doesn't mean the drama is over. Far from it. Jocelyn now finds herself in dangerous territory. Jack Brennan may have promised to help her, but what price will she have to pay in return? Meanwhile, Sam McCall's loved ones will have to find a way to move on, even as they demand justice for what was taken from them. And perhaps most chillingly, we must ask, did Cyrus act alone? Or is there someone else out there, someone who shared his twisted beliefs, waiting to pick up where he left off? One thing is for certain, General Hospital will never be the same again. Next, we dive into the tangled web of betrayal, manipulation, and unexpected alliances that have sent shockwaves through Port Charles. At the center of the drama? Rick Lansing's relentless vendetta against his half-brother Sonny Corinthos, Ava Jerome's precarious balancing act between self-interest and survival, and Sonny's own shocking pivot in the battle for custody. As emotions run high and schemes unfold, the question remains, who is truly in control? Will Rick Lansing use romance to manipulate Ava Jerome? Ava Jerome finds herself at a crossroads, caught between two men with a long history of deceit and power plays. On one side, Sonny Corinthos, the man who has been her greatest adversary, has suddenly extended an olive branch, offering a shared custody arrangement she never thought possible. On the other, Rick Lansing, Sonny's half-brother and a man with a long track record of manipulation, is growing increasingly frustrated with Ava's decision to take the deal. Rick's interest in Ava isn't purely about the legal battle. He has been angling for an opportunity to use her as a weapon against Sonny, and with her newfound willingness to negotiate with the mob boss, his plans may be unraveling. But Rick isn't one to back down easily. If Ava won't be persuaded by legal threats or logical arguments, will he take a different approach? We've seen Rick use romance as a means to an end before. His past relationship with Alexis Davis was strategically calculated, designed to keep him close to Sonny's world and give him influence over his brother's child. Could he be playing the same game with Ava? If he can't convince her to fight Sonny through the courts, will he attempt to steer her with emotional manipulation instead? Ava may be interested in seeing where things could go with Rick, but is she playing right into his hands? Or does she see through his charm and recognize him as a man who is just as dangerous, if not more so, than Sonny? Ava's impossible choice, trust Sonny or bet on Rick? Ava Jerome is no fool. She spent years navigating the treacherous waters of the mob world, playing her cards carefully, and ensuring she always lands on her feet. But this time, she's facing an impossible choice. Does she trust Sonny's sudden generosity, or does she place her faith in Rick, a man with his own history of deception? She knows Sonny is not the kind of man to change his mind lightly. His grudges run deep, and he has never been one to compromise unless it serves a larger purpose. So why now? Why is he suddenly willing to split custody of their daughter right down the middle? Then there's Rick, who is making it painfully clear that he does not approve of this truce. His reaction wasn't that of a concerned friend or a legal advisor giving sound counsel. No, it was personal. His tension, his disapproval, it felt as though Ava's decision had directly impacted him in a way that went beyond business. Ava isn't naive. She senses that Rick has an agenda, one that involves using her to settle his own scores. But the problem is, she likes him. There's an undeniable pull between them, and now that she has a real chance to regain custody of her daughter, she's wondering if Rick could be part of that future. But the question remains, is Rick genuinely interested in Ava, or is she just another pawn in his endless campaign of revenge against Sonny? Rick Lansing sees his plans unravel as Ava defies him. For Rick Lansing, power and control are everything. He has spent years carefully plotting against his half-brother, waiting for the right moment to strike, and now, just when he thought he had the upper hand, Ava has derailed his plans by accepting Sonny's custody offer. To Rick, this isn't just a legal battle, it's war. He has always believed that Sonny is undeserving of his position, that he is reckless and unfit to hold power over anyone, let alone a child. Rick sees himself as the more intelligent, calculated alternative, and he thought he could use Ava to help bring Sonny down. But now, Ava has completely blindsided him. When Sonny walked out of Ava's home, she felt a wave of relief, knowing that she had just secured something she never thought she would, a chance to co-parent peacefully. But Rick? He was fuming. His posture, his tone, the way he looked at her, it was as though she had personally betrayed him. Why did this matter so much to Rick? Because in his mind, Ava was supposed to be his ally, the perfect leverage to weaken Sonny's hold on his empire. And now, by accepting Sonny's offer, she has taken away a crucial piece of Rick's strategy. But Rick isn't one to walk away without a fight. If Ava won't willingly side with him, how far will he go to ensure that she does? Ava Jerome shocked by Sonny Corinthos' unexpected offer. When Sonny Corinthos appeared at Ava Jerome's doorstep, she expected a fight. What she got instead was an offer she never saw coming. Shared custody? Split right down the middle? Ava could hardly believe what she was hearing. After years of being locked in a bitter battle, Sonny had suddenly changed course, presenting a compromise that seemed too good to be true. And maybe it was. But without any knowledge of Sonny's recent health scares, Ava had no way of knowing what had prompted this sudden shift.